Our news and views are sponsored by Africa Muslims Agency. Africa Muslims Agency, a beacon of hope to communities for over 35 years in Africa and beyond. Welcome back. You're still tuned in to News and Views with myself, Salilo Makwidere. And as I promised before we went to that short ad break, we'll be turning our focus now to the unfolding crisis in Bangladesh as Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina resigns and flees the country amid unprecedented violence. We're joined by Rezaur, Rahman, a seasoned analyst from Bangladesh to provide us with the latest insights. Rezaur will help us understand the root of the unrest, the current sentiment on the ground, and the potential future trajectory for Bangladesh after Hasina's departure. Rezaur, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Salam Media.
Thank you very much. Very happy to be connected with you.
Always a pleasure. I think first and foremost, before we unpack some of the intricacies of what has happened in Bangladesh in the last few weeks, or in the last month, let's get the current on the ground. What's happening right now? What's the latest on the situation in Bangladesh following Sheikh Hasina's resignation and departure yesterday, and how is the interim government being received by the public and the political landscape in general? How are things in Bangladesh?
Yes, Hasina ran away from the country after her resignation yesterday afternoon. Around 3 p.m., she left from Bangladesh to India, and she is looking for asylum into different countries. And on the top of it, military chief, army chief, actually came into the screen of the Bangladesh televisions, although he's the relative of Sheikh Hasina, but he's the army chief. Is the in charge, and he actually informed us that Sheikh Hasina actually give a resignation letter to the president of this country, and now we, the people who are actually protesting into the ground, they and also the people who actually mobilize the movement, particularly the youth group, particularly the students who actually came to the street to reform the quota system back in 2018, and they keep continuing their protests, and somehow they keep continuing the process, or continuing the movement of the first week of the July, and that is ended up number of violence, including the death, enforced disappearances, brutal torture, custodial torture, and lots of killing as well. So we don't know exactly how many people actually killed during these clashes, but particularly these killings actually happen because ruling political party members actually using the snipers, guns, bullets, tear cell, and all forms of violence they actually created into the street, and it's resulted to almost 500 plus killing inside the country. They actually have a secret graveyard, and also mass graving, also identified by the journalists who are sitting outside, and also with the help from the doctors and help from the local journalists. So, and finally, she forced to actually give a resignation letter. Now, we the peoples of Bangladesh in a process of coming up with the interim government. There's a consultation going on by the army chief with a number of political parties. Hopefully, by today, we will come up with the interim government name list, and from tomorrow or day after tomorrow, they can actually start functioning as interim government because there are constitutional dynamics is there, constitutional upholding need to be there, and continuation of the constitution need to be done. So that was a mass uprising, lots of killing in July, and enforced disappearances and custodial police torture. So this is what happening. People are into the street. Some of the resistance is coming from the former kind of terrorist organization who were running this country the last 15 years, Bangladesh Chhatra League. They are into the street, and also number of places, religious minority groups, and also the people who supported the current regime, previous regime, they are also under attack into the street. Peoples are protesting into the street for a peaceful transition and upholding the rule of law, democratic principle, and human rights principle. So we are still struggling because lots of arms, small arms is actually provided before she gave the resignation letter. And she is looking for asylum globally.
Mm,
India are not agreed to keep her, and she applied to London, UK. They also rejected her asylum application, and we are hearing she is planning to move to Finland. Hopefully, she will get it over there, but we are not sure because there are a number of dynamics. Actually, she actually committed continuous, systematic, targeted crime against humanity to her own people, and it's in a group, opposition political party leaders who are descending her. They were under attack. Systematically extrajudicial killing happened around 5,000 people last 20 years in Bangladesh. Enforced appearances during her regime almost number is 700. Now uh, secret detention houses, people are start coming to their family members. So almost 700 enforced appearance cases. We don't know how many of them killed and how many of them are still alive into a separate, different secret location in this country. So it's very horrendous situation actually for us to even overcome the given situation.
I want us, just to take a step back. I think, you mentioned previously that, there were similar kind of protests in 2018, where the people of Bangladesh and the students came out to the streets to protest against that quota job system that was, implemented by the government. But why, such a dramatic turn of events this time around? Is it still just about the quota system, or there were other underlying issues within Bangladesh itself that the protesters ultimately saw the protests against the job quota system as an avenue, to use to voice them out? Because I'm pretty sure the way it has unfolded and just how dramatically things have turned, there must be more to this.
Yeah, sure. As I told you, people are suffering, mass people and critical mass who are living into this country very peacefully, and they are looking for livelihood. They are looking for a peaceful country. But the continuous criminal activity done by the former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, and also accused of genocide, crime against humanity, she actually uh, brutally cracked down all forms of dissenting opinion. Civil and political rights score is zero. Socio-economic and cultural rights actually taken away from the people in the name of development. Lots of huge loan we have now. We don't have a even reserve. What a central bank need to have to run the country, $40 million according to IMF. But then that's money we don't have because all big mega projects actually coming from Chinese government or some other international agencies. So people are looking for an avenue to even bring her into accountable mechanism. So it was an opportunity for the youth people who are actually very strategically and also very systematically brings their concern into the people's mind, and then mass people, the critical mass, intellectuals, cultural activists, lawyers, journalists, human rights defenders, all of them, we are actually kind of forced to join to their call because that was a legitimate call, that those are the calls for people's freedom. So that's need to be respected for the citizens to their call from the students. So that's exactly happened. And it started with a reform because they were looking for jobs and livelihood and a peaceful living mechanism they wanted to introduce into their life and implementing their dreams. But then when it was barred, they were start killing into people into the street with the snipers. These are the people who are unarmed. Even if they are armed, they will have a very tree branches, sticks, and nothing more than that. But then when some of the cases they were absolutely unarmed with their own, they went to the street only with the flags of the country. But then you actually start using the excessive use of force, brutally killing into the people into the street. So that's not acceptable. That was
Mm,
not acceptable, and it was not accepted at all. So yes, people's movement and uprising happened. It's very, because we the country, probably only one country in the South Asia who gives bloods to for, I mean, at least for freedom and
mm,
liberation war, where we actually almost 30 million people killed. So
mm,
this is not an easy country to deal with, and the resistance, people's movement, people's uprising is very rare in South Asia, and usually it was a negotiated independence. Other countries around Bangladesh received, but we didn't get a negotiated independence from the Pakistan army. It was a
mm,
brutal fight, although it was a short period of time, 9 months fight. So it was inevitable. It was expected that she will be overthrown, she will be charged, she will be brought into the accountable mechanism because of her act and her government's 67% have a access to different foreign funds where uh, people's suffering, people's fight, people's exercise of fundamental freedoms uh, was heavily burned. Yeah.
mm. I want to touch a bit on the legacy of Sheikh Hasina, and what can we say kind of encapsulates her time in office. I think she's been president since what 2009, before she resigned now. And we saw some really disturbing images coming out yesterday of the statue of her father, also the founding father and first president of Bangladesh, Sheikh Majbur Rahman, also his statue being defaced and being targeted. If you can just summarize her legacy for us, what encapsulates Sheikh Hasina's time in office as the Prime Minister of Bangladesh?
Yes, yeah, it was true that her father's statue actually thrown away. That's happening, and it's not only one particular place. There are thousands of murals, thousands of sculptures are actually being made with the people's money, where people doesn't have a food, enough livelihood, enough access to the medical health care. So, and when you are coming out with such big statues to give a pleasure to your mind that your father did all the everything into the liberation war in 1971 against the Pakistan army, that's not acceptable by the people, because the way is projected that the way her father actually fought in everyone admired it. No one has objection at all, massive objection at all against her father back in 1971. Unfortunately, he was assassinated because of introduction of one-party system in 1974, and then and he was assassinated in 1975 in August, and this is a month of mourning for her father, 55 anniversary, 54th anniversary of death. But then the problem is not acknowledging to others the way is actually being projected that only her father was a real freedom fighter back in 1971. It's not acceptable. Now, of course, this is we condemn, strongly condemn, that number of attack is happening against the minority groups, because religious, particularly religious minority groups, probably by the protester, or probably done by the losing party, what
mm,
Sheikh Hasina's party named Awami League. So we don't know. There is no investigation at all within a short period of time. But obviously, the students, the movements, leaders, they all actually active in social media. They are active in presence the whole night. I saw that number of videos, number of pictures, photos coming up that where student leaders, movement leaders, protesters are saving religious minorities spaces, their religious spaces. And they
mm,
also give a protection to their houses. They are also giving a protection to their family members. So there is an attempt that by the former ruling party members wanted to jeopardize this movement and hijack the movement because with the alternatives and they wanted to hijack the alternatives for a better alternative. But that's not going to be easy. That's not going to be the case probably. And obviously, I think peoples of the Bangladesh wants to live in a peaceful situation where upholding democratic human rights and rule of law principles is a first work for them to reconcile the given situation. So 500 people killed in a 1 or 2 weeks is not a matter of job. It's a mass killing. It's a continuation. There are enforced disappearances into this regime of 700 people were enforced disappeared. 5,000, almost 4,000. 5,000 is not probably all goes into during her regime, but 4,000 extrajudicial killing, custodial torture to death. Numbers are huge.
mm,
So Sheikh Mujib's, I mean, this is unfortunate the way she criminalized her father because Sheikh Mujib, he was acceptable for her father was acceptable to all the people's mind, irrespective of their political, sexual, or gender orientation. But then the way it's being projected by daughter and grandson and their family members and also their party members is very unfortunate the way uh, her her father sculpture actually thrown away.
mm, mm. We have run out of time, but just two quick questions before I let you go. What next now for Bangladesh? Are we going to be seeing elections anytime soon? And also, the reaction of the country's neighbors, India, Pakistan. How have they taken to these news? Are they in support of Sheikh Hasina? Are they giving any kind of other, remedial kind of interventions to Bangladesh right now?
I don't think that they can intervene the neighboring country at all because I think they saw what exactly happened during her regime. And Indian, I mean, I mean, it's very significant. It's a sign languages that the neighboring country, India, was not allowing her asylum. So it's pretty clear what exactly the thinking about Sheikh Hasina in the neighboring countries. And the next process for the peoples of Bangladesh is to form an interim government. They will work on the election. An interim government probably can't take a much more decision, but very regular basis, regular basis, policy level decision they can take. So they eventually come up with the election. They need to organize the election. At best 90 days they will have, or 120 days. And within that period of time, they have to come up with an election. But unfortunately, the legal mechanism of interim government is not really there according to constitution or any other law. So it's a very challenging time how it can be arranged. It's also challenging time for the coming government, yeah, to uphold rule of law and democratic and human rights principle into the country, because long time the democratic and human rights and rule of law principles are not practiced. And the first thing, law and order situation need to be recovered. It should be into the hands of the people. It should not be hands into the to the people, but it should be regulated by the people through a particular government and then hopefully law and order situation, if it is better, then obviously the real scenario, real discussion we can start with, because every mass uprising or revolutionary movement, immediately there are human rights violations, lack of democracy, and also lack of application of the rule of law. So that's probably we are facing. Not really very massive number, but still, even one single incidence, one violation of human rights is affect to their own citizens and their governance uh, actors.
All
So
right.
I think
I
that
think
it's important for Bangladesh people to
we're going to leave it
remember.
there. Rezaur, we have run out of time, but thank you so much for giving us your time. Bangladesh in really unprecedented and uncharted times, and I'm sure as the situation continues to unfold, we'll be keeping in touch with you to get the latest and the developing stories coming out of Bangladesh. As well, right now, as things stand, they don't have a prime minister. There's no leader in the country. She has fled. She's looking for a home. India has turned her down. She's now looking to go to Europe, Finland, probably. So it's going to be really interesting times ahead. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be shifting our focus to back home, Africa, where Mali has cut ties with Ukraine, accusing them of supporting terrorism. And we'll be speaking with podcaster and founder of Swahili Nation and One Africa, Mika Shavala, right after this.